The Computer Crimes Unit of the State Police investigates all sorts of computer-based cases, from sexting to dissemination of child pornography. It takes on hundreds of cases each year, but it also has a backlog of cases.
Right now, the sergeant in charge of that unit says the backlog includes approximately 250 cases that they have deemed the worst of the worst. The warrants are written, but the cases are just sitting in a bin, waiting for action.
The Computer Crimes Unit has a small office on the 4th floor of the Criminal Justice Academy in Vassalboro. There are a few desks, some computers, and a small staff, but its workload is immense.
It's a bad situation.
The unit says in 2009, child pornography was sent or received in Maine 57,000 times. In a 10-day period at the end of the year, it tagged 200 different internet addresses that downloaded child porn.
Possession or dissemination of child pornography.
Sergeant Glenn Lang and his lead detectives sift through the cases, looking to see what kind of images and videos these people are exchanging.
I mean, it's hideous beyond belief.
They pick what they deem the worst of the worst and request subpoenas so they can serve search warrants on the houses attached to those accounts.
When I say the worst of the worst, we're looking at the people who are sharing a fair number of pictures or videos, or people who are in possession of something that rises to the next level with regard to child pornography. In many of those cases, it involves videos explaining how to sexually assault children and get away with it.
Lang says if they determine that the address is a daycare or belongs to someone who has easy access to children, they will execute the search warrant quickly. But many times the investigation stops here, in this bin.
I will guarantee that within those cases that we have in our backlog, there are people in that bin who are actively assaulting children.
Lang explains with the workload his unit already has and the number of cases they receive weekly, it simply isn't possible to execute every warrant and proceed on every case.
I'll tell you, it's a staggering weight, to know that those cases are sitting back there. I know they exist, and to not be out there addressing those cases, it's a terrible thing. It's something we live with here on a daily basis.
Abusing children.
Representative Richard Sykes of Harrison is a member of the Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee. The committee recently met the Computer Crimes Unit and saw the bin of idle cases.
And that's sitting on a desk, not being dealt with as fast as it should be. That is something that this entire legislature and the chief executive need to realize, in my opinion, is a priority and ought to be funded.
Sykes admits shifting funding from another state program to this one would not be a popular decision, but he says dealing with the safety of children is a priority.
I would rate the computer crimes section of the crime lab as a priority and maybe not realize that we're not able to fund some of these other programs. To this point, we're not doing that, and that's something I would suggest that we do in the future.
The commissioner of the Department of Public Safety says some changes are being made.
It's obviously a huge concern of ours. Anytime a child is abused is a huge concern, and we'll do whatever we can to protect those little ones.
Through Federal Recovery Act money, starting February 1st, the Computer Crimes Unit got 2 additional detectives. There's also an assistant attorney general assigned to the unit, and Commissioner Ann Jordan says when they can, state police officers work with the unit.
We're doing the very best we can, but with budget cuts and limitations, we don't have the size staff that would be optimal, but we're doing the best by bringing in and finding alternative forms of outside funding.
But Jordan says there are the same number of sworn officers with the state police now as there was in 1971, and they are constantly juggling how to delegate those 321 officers.
Is it really appropriate to take a detective off the road to work on some backlogged cases when we don't have anyone to respond to a domestic violence situation which could turn into a death?
Jordan is confident with the new detectives the backlog at the Computer Crimes Unit will diminish, but she never sees a time when that bin will be empty.
Now, Sergeant Glenn Lang says sometimes the idle cases in the bin become too old to work or to request search warrants. He says the cases that are currently in the bin go back about 1.5 years.